Did you ever wonder why the Sims 2 creators made such an effort writing descriptions? And have you actually read them? Today we're diving into the weird, hilarious and surprisingly deep world of the Sims 2 artwork. One description at a time. Hello Simmers, my name is Reese and welcome to my channel. So if you like videos like this, please help my channel grow by liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing to my channel. Let's dive into it. So the first piece that I've picked out is, to me, the greatest Sims artwork of them all. It's the 2 dogs and an olive by Mixed Up, and you can get this piece for, well, only, that's relative, but only 2,900 simoleons. The description reads: Mick's initial concept was to use one dog as a focal point for his painting, but he could not capture his subject's inner motivation for conveying the olive. After nearly a decade of torment, Mick's father gave him a valuable piece of advice, which saved him from a downward spiral into obscurity, and has brought to you and I this great masterpiece. The advice: try 2 dogs, son. Try 2 dogs. And this fantastic piece is going to give you 10 environment points. So I think that this piece is one of those paintings that manages to blend humor, abstraction and parody all in one. Because at first glance, the piece, with its large scale and moody abstract blue palette, it feels familiar, doesn't it? I think that it visually resembles Picasso's Guernica. And that's why I think this is the greatest piece of Sims art of all time. So Picasso is known for being one of the founders of the art movement Cubism, where objects are broken into geometrical shapes with multiple perspectives at the same time. And in this Sims piece, we have a chaotic composition, we have emotional tension, and we have the use of animals as symbols that mirrors that same kind of expressive intensity. Only here, it's 2 dogs fighting, where in Guernica, we have a bull and we have a dog and we have human limbs. And when we take a look at the visual style of this painting, with its abstract and fragmented forms and the distressed expression of the animals, I think that it really starts to echo Picasso's Guernica. Even though, of course, I think that this Sims piece is more maybe expressionistic than cubistic. But let's just take a look at the historic context for Picasso's Guernica. Because in 1931, the unstable monarchy in Spain was demolished and replaced by a republic. And the 1930s were quite an unstable time in Europe, and also for Spain's young democracy, because there was a lot of tension between socialists and conservatives, and the fascist dictator General Franco came to power in 1936, marking the beginning of the Spanish Civil War. And in 1937, the German and Italian air forces bombed the city of Guernica. It had military significance, but the city was also full of civilians. And Picasso created Guernica, the piece, in the same year as a response to the bombing of the Spanish village and as a powerful anti-war statement about suffering, destruction, and the futility of violence. And I think that Mixed Up's painting seems to parody the same structure, but it replaces human egoism with animal absurdity. And the result is a kind of dark humor that critiques not only war itself, but also the ways that we justify it. Over resources, over ideas, or, as the painting suggests, over nothing more than an olive. Because instead of depicting war and tragedy, this painting centers on 2 dogs fighting over an olive. And, well, apparently, as the description reads, the artist tried to focus on just one dog, but the painting wasn't working until his father gave him this crucial piece of advice by trying 2's. It's either absurd, I think, or again, a reference to the fact that war involves two parties. And also, if we take a look at the name of the artist, Mixed Up, it does sound like mixed up. I can't even tell the difference, at least. And that makes me think that this piece is exactly a mix of a few well-known paintings. And I think that Picasso's Guernica is part of that mix, and that is why my associations goes to this. And even the title, Two Dogs and an Olive, reflects the contrast between the grand visual style of this painting and the trivial subject matter. Because we have the olive here as the center of the piece, and on the surface it does seem absurd, but the olive is in this context a stand-in for something bigger, I think. Something fought over, not only for its value, but because it has been declared desirable. And in classical symbolism, the olive represents peace, making this even more interesting. Because what does it mean when it becomes an object of conflict? The painting might be asking us to reflect on how societies claim to fight for peace, but still descends into chaos and division in the process. The dogs here, driven by instinct or ego, are locked in a pointless battle over a symbol they don't truly understand. So while this painting is playful on the surface, it holds a distorted mirror to society. It questions motivations, rivalries, and the theater of conflict, whether it's personal or political. And in that way, Two Dogs and an Olive becomes more than just an in-game painting. It becomes a sly, stylized meditation on the nature of conflict and society. And my God, I love it. And if we take a look at the next piece that I've picked out, it's the Arugust Soldier. And you can get this piece for 2,000 simoleons. And the description reads, Captain and Commander, S.Q. Argyle, was separated from his family for years due to a constant state of war in their homeland. His battalion was lost sometime near the end of the war, before he even returned home. This portrait, completed before the disappearance, is all that remains of the captain, still waiting for his family. And this piece will give you 10 environment points. So first and foremost, I think that this painting mimics like classic 18th to 19th century military portraits, where soldiers or commanders are immortalized in uniform, posed nobly, and intended to convey honor, sacrifice, and national pride. I mean, think of Napoleonic era portraits or the American Civil War era officers. The tone is formal, it's heroic, but it's also mythologized. The visual impression of this painting is that it's somber, reflecting the tragic story, of course, and the piece plays with the themes of loss, memory, and myth-making, making it quite strong considering that this is an in-game painting. And if we take a look at the backstory, Captain Argyle separated from his family, his battalion lost, and only a portrait remaining. This echoes tragic war stories told in both real-life history and in fiction. The description has the style of a melodramatic tale, being almost operatic, which may be a gentle jab at how portraits are often all there's left of glorified but grim personal stories, making it quite sad to actually leave this painting hanging, I think. And then we have the name S.Q. Argyle and Arugust Soldier. It sounds like a pun or an exaggeration of military-sounding words, because SQ made me think of HQ, headquarters, because S, I guess, can sound somewhat alike to H, but, well, this might be a bit far-fetched, so it's just my impression, and please let me know in the comments if you agree or not. And then we have Argyle. It sounds like Argyle, which is a pattern on, like, now it's on socks and sweaters and so, and it could be mocking how military figures are often dressed in elaborated decorated uniforms. But, and I think rather, it could also be a reference to the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, which was an infantry regiment of the British Army from 1881 to 2006, and also still is a name for an infantry unit of the Canadian Army Reserve. And the uniform is a painting is not quite right to these regiments, but still, the references could make sense. And again, then we have the word Arugust, which I think might be a pun on like "arr", like the sound a gruff and grunting commander and captain would make, which again, is a bit far-fetched, but it could make sense in the classic Sims 2 kind of humor. And also, or again, maybe rather, it could be a word compressed of arguably and nationalist, or any other ist for that matter, so that it would mean that this soldier is arguably nationalist. And again, this might also sound a bit far-fetched, but this combination of words is called portmanteau words, and it's quite often used with exactly strong emotional and political charge. So it could make sense that we are supposed to interpret it in this way. And diving deeper into the description, I think that it also marks the concept of these military portraits as being frozen in time, because the line, "still waiting for his family," gives the portrait a haunting, ghost-like quality, suggesting that the soldier lives on in this painting, never fulfilled and never reunited with his family, which again makes this painting quite interesting, but also a bit unpleasant to have hanging in your house. Unless you go for that style, of course. I guess it could make quite good sense to have it hanging in the Goth family mansion. Because this description evokes themes found in both war memorials and also in like haunted portrait tropes. I mean, think of Gothic fiction where a character is forever trapped in an image or something like that. But all in all, I think that this painting is a commentary on how soldiers or national heroes can be commemorated, though often reducing complex and painful human stories to a single solemn image. Because it mimics the heavy-handed reference found in historic military art, while also poking fun at how tragedy becomes aestheticized, especially when it ends up on a Sim's living room wall for only 2,000 simoleons. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and stay tuned for other videos. Bye!